This needs to be this to end before I come back out again with it. Because I've had two other meetings.
Oh.
That's for Mark.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
And I blocked it.
Oh, come on.
I'm surprised your email didn't lock it, or your antivirus didn't lock
I
it.
call order the meeting of the City Council for November 18th, 2014. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Misty.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mrs. Fritsch? Here. Mr. Grundon?
Here.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Here.
Mr. Shar?
Here. Correction and/or approval of the City Council minutes for November 4th, 2014. Do I hear a motion of approval or correction?
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Missy, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Abstain.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Abstain?
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Item 4, correspondence. We'll start with Diane.
Oh, yeah. I've got lots of correspondence. Okay. I had some people ask me a question about the building of the electric utility building and why we didn't have to have a referendum. So I've asked that later in the agenda that be explained, and it will be about why we didn't need to do that. And I did have some questions from constituents in my ward about the reconstruction at the corner of Mulberry and Moss, and I've asked that to be also readdressed in the city manager's report, which it will be. I received, and I think probably all of us did, but an invitation to the library's Poetry Pavers launch dedication Wednesday night, tomorrow night. And that's at the library at 6:30 tomorrow night for anyone else who's interested. Also, I asked that we have an update on the Public Service Commission rate case meeting that we held last week. So those are basically the things that were brought to my attention. And we did all get a letter also from a class in your packets. So that's something that if we decide we want to put on a later agenda, we can if we want to. But that's not something we have to deal with tonight. So, okay?
Thank you, Diane. Steve?
Mainly, if we could just go over I had a couple questions on parking. When does the parking restrictions, is it December 1st? Is that correct? Yeah.
November 1st.
Starts December 1st, so people are aware of that. That was about it.
Yeah.
Call about brush pickup, when that was, and if the leaf, Steve, is the leaf collection going to continue with the leaf vac, or are they about done now?
They'll go as long as they can.
Okay, and that was the answer I
if-
gave them.
Once
I
we
just
get
wanted to be sure.
if the snow gets real heavy, then it's obviously going to stop. But if you can get it out there and it's not got a lot of snow on it, they will pick it up.
And then a call urging council to vote yes on the new floodplain map, and another call that I referred over to Mr. Foster.
What was the last thing? What?
I had a call that I referred to
Oh.
Councilman Foster.
Oh, gee, okay. I didn't know we could do that. No. Here they come in.
It was more appropriate for Mike to handle it than me.
No, I'm just kidding around.
Yeah, and that was, the only call I had was from a constituent that would like us to seriously consider voting yes on the new floodplain ordinance. but that was it.
I had similar. Questions and public comment. The public is encouraged to address the council at this time regarding items on the agenda unless the items is subject to a public hearing. Public comments may be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda. If you have registered with the city clerk before the meeting has been called to order, state open meetings law discourages action by the council on items that are not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. And state your name and address when starting your comments and fill out the sign-in sheet provided. Please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Anita J. Martin. I live at 261 Pinnacle Drive in Lake Mills, and I'm representing our residents' action group called Citizens for a Better Environment Lake Mills, or CBE Lake Mills. We wanted to first thank the people who have been sending us emails on odor issues that have been happening in the community, and also people that have been phoning in. Our odor action line is 920-285-0707. The email, and I always have to look again at that, is small case C, the letter 4, small case BELM, as in Michael, @gmail.com. We wanted to make sure to inform the residents of some important developments regarding odors and environmental issues in Lake Mills. On November 7th, Unlimited Renewables LLC, R&J Partnership LLC is another name that the company goes by, informed the DNR that they would be applying for an air permit by December 31st, 2014. This is a new air permit, the first time that the organization will have had one for operations at this location. Unlimited Renewables is the company that produces the chickadee doo-doo pellets, and that is the name of the product, the fertilizer, using the manure from approximately 900,000 chickens that are housed at Daybreak Foods Incorporated, Creekwood Farms, which is located on County A and Crossman Road. The new proposed permit stems from a special meeting that the DNR called with Unlimited Renewables, which took place October 2nd. Deborah Dix of the DNR, and she works with the air management area as well as the compliance issues. She called the meeting in response to manure stack test results which were taken in July at Unlimited Renewables, as well as the results from on-site water samples that Christine Lillick from the DNR took at Unlimited Renewables in August. In September, based on the findings of the State Laboratory of Hygiene, Unlimited Renewables arranged for 15,000 gallons of contaminated water to be removed from their site. Deborah Dix, at the October 2nd meeting, asked Unlimited Renewables for a number of documents pertaining to the air management as well as the stormwater runoff, and recommended additional testing. Of concern are a number of things: ammonia, nitrates, total nitrogen, phosphorus, VOCs, volatile organic chemicals, and particulate matter. On November 7th, Unlimited Renewables requested a 30-day extension from the DNR for the stormwater runoff portion of their management plan. And if you'll recall, they do have a wastewater permit that's in place, that's in conjunction with the permit that the Daybreak Foods Incorporated Creekwood Farms has. So what's going to be happening is probably in March, the DNR tells us, there will be a public hearing regarding the proposed air permit. Much the same as the public hearing that was held in December of 2012 when the wastewater permit was due for renewal, or I guess you'd say due for renewal. And if it's approved, it most likely will be a 5-year permit. We will be holding a community meeting to provide information for people on Wednesday, January 21st at 7 PM here in this building in the community room. And we're asking people to stay updated and to continue to let us know if there are odor issues. I think I covered everything. It's a very complicated subject, but if there are quick questions, if we have a minute, I don't know how I'm doing on time.
What was the date again?
The date of the community meeting is Wednesday, January 21st at 7 PM. We have also asked the DNR if we could have the public hearing at a time other than like midday, maybe at night or late in the day, so that people that commute to Madison or Milwaukee could attend. Because last time, I think it was a little bit prohibitive at the time of day that it was. I know some people told me they wanted to attend, but they couldn't. So hopefully they will take that into consideration, or maybe even consider a Saturday morning public hearing. I don't know. So I guess that's mainly what I have to share on that, unless anyone else has questions.
Well, you have this information posted on the website?
You know, we do not right now have our website up. We're a very small group of volunteers, and that's something we had hoped to get going a while back, and we haven't. We'll figure out somehow or another to get some information out there, because there's a lot of important background information that people would be would be available. It's difficult to email some of that because of the format that the files are in. But so, hopefully, soon. But we certainly can also, if people are interested in that, meanwhile, we can try providing through email.
Do you have a Facebook page?
We don't. We had considered Facebook, but because of some response that I had gotten when I went on the Facebook page that's for Lake Mills, it's not the Health Coalition, but it's for people that do business in Lake Mills, and somebody helped me, you know which one I mean, right? There's like for people that are doing business in Lake Mills, it's Lake Mills, does anybody know what it is? You know what I mean, right?
Chamber of Commerce?
No, it's for people that do business in Lake Mills. It's not a chamber, it's like a group of residents. I can't think of it right now, but there is a Facebook page where you're allowed to post things. And so after we had some issues with the manure spreading in August, and I think you all know about that, and then after that, I had done a radio segment that explained a little bit of what was going on with odors, and I had placed some information on that Facebook site, and the people were, it just didn't seem like, let's just say, the best venue. People were pretty brash, and I don't think they were particularly helpful with their comments. So based on that, we just really didn't feel that maybe we want to do that. It's such an emotionally charged issue, the odors and the environmental issues, that we just weren't sure that having a Facebook would be the best way to go about it. Maybe we're wrong on that, but it's just, you know, people sometimes will say things on Facebook that they would never say in a public venue. And sometimes it's not always the most appropriate stuff. So, but we will have information out soon, somehow or another. We'll have a website where people can stay updated. So thank you. And if you have questions for me later or whatever, or you can email me, I can certainly provide additional information for everybody. So
Will you have something in the Leader before this January 21st meeting to remind people about it?
yes, actually, there should be a letter to the editor this week that I put in that explains briefly some of the highlights, and then there'll be additional information. We expect more information to be available certainly within the next month or so after that extension period of time for the water plan is, over, and some other things. We have requested, an important thing I didn't mention, the EPA has actually done ambient air tests recently after a lot of requests, and they did them either in August or September. We're awaiting the results, and that will be very important for us to know that too, because those are things that really do impact the health. They're measuring aspects of things that will impact health. So we'll have that information as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your help.
Thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we'll close the questions and public comment. Brings to item 6, city manager's report. Steve?
I want to start with a reminder that the city council at-large term will be on the ballot in the spring election. Campaign registration statement nomination papers with 50 to 100 qualified signatures, and the declaration of candidacy must be filed with the clerk no later than 5 p.m. on January 6, 2015. These forms, instructions can be printed from the Government Accountability website or picked up in the clerk's office and can begin circulation on December 1st. The spring election will be held on April 7th, and the spring primary will be February 17th if needed. The only office that's open on the council is the at-large position currently held by Mike Foster. And these are the new districts, and they should be going into effect midnight tonight.
Yes.
Okay, and so basically, there are, Mike's is the whole city, so he represents both 1 and 2. Then Ed and Diane represent 1, and Steve and Rudy represent 2.
All of the wards stayed the same, but now there's 4 wards for each of the 2 districts.
I provided you some additional information tonight. One of them was a request to purchase some land from Sandy Beach. I also provided you with information on a letter that I had for Senator Fitzgerald. I did send that letter yesterday, so that was out. There was a request on information for what happened at the Public Service Commission public hearing. There were 5 people there, 4 city staff and 1 council member. There was 1 written letter submitted to the Public Service Commission discussing the issue. The Public Service Commission did reduce our rates slightly, and they don't really provide what, like we generally do. Was a 13.5% request. They don't send back information saying, oh, we reduced it to 13%. They send back one that looks like this. And this tells you each one of these areas is a electric rate, a group of customers. And so that tells you how each one of them was affected, how each one of those groups was affected by the electric rate. So you can see that some had almost no effect, and then some had quite a bit, and then it dropped down here. So the rate ranged from like 8% to 14%, depending on where you fell within the qualifications. But technically, what they did was they reduced our revenue generation by about $230,000 based on the changes that they made in reducing the rate. So that was what happened at that meeting. Went pretty quick, I think 7 minutes.
It was fast.
Yeah, it was fast. Are there any questions on that?
I'd like to request a copy of the chart you just put up in my next packet.
Sure. That was one that was available on the table at the public service hearing, so I'll
Okay.
get that.
I think all the council members should see
And
it.
I'll email it to you,
That's fine.
because
Whatever.
it's in digital. I provided a notification from the health partners that we received. This one is one that I really enjoyed, and I provided that to you tonight. Cottage Grove took a $260 per resident tax increase this year to separate their police force from the town. So they went from one of the 4 lowest into the state to not even the lowest in Dane County. So they had a substantial change. They still have some things that are where they're not providing what I would believe is a service at the style that we are, that they probably will end up, I think their library is going to end up being ultimately a cost that they're going to have to adjust as they start to step up and become a full-scale village. But those are issues that have been brought up in the past. I note that we got a letter from the LCAP Booster Club. So that was information that was provided to you. And then again, on the Dane County one, we did have brush pickup. And we generally have it once in the spring and once in the fall. If you do have brush and you need it picked up and you can't haul it yourself, you can call the city hall and schedule to have it picked up. There's a slight charge with it, but it's not anywhere near the cost of having someone haul your brush. There's also a spot where you can drop off your brush at Stony Road if you're capable of hauling it there. Like I said, the leaf pickup is still running. Probably will run as long as people are pulling leaves out and we are capable of picking it up. That depends on the snow. The Mulberry and Moss Street intersection. About 2 years ago, that valley gutter that was in that intersection was in such bad shape that it was actually damming up water rather than moving it across the intersection. So we pulled it out, and instead of doing a new concrete one, we just put in asphalt because we knew we were coming up on the Mulberry Street grant, and we thought we might be putting in stormwater at that location in a relatively short period of time. We did get the grant, but based on some of the issues that we had to deal with, we're not going to do it until 2019, and it's not going as far as Moss. So we decided to go ahead and put in that concrete gutter in conjunction with the crosswalk up at College and Fremont. But Friday, they came in and laid asphalt, the county did. And they came in fast and hot, and we didn't get all the asphalt down that we wanted to. Moss was one of them. So we have repaired it using coal patch, and we'll hold it that way until spring when we actually do asphalt. But from what I can tell, having driven on that quite a bit in the last several years, going to Willowbrook quite a bit, that intersection is a substantial improvement from what it had been. And I know that the bus drivers who commented to me will certainly appreciate that improvement over the winter.
And also with that, it isn't normal to get this kind of temperature at this part of November.
Well, it varies a lot. The weather in Wisconsin changes. If you want to, the weather will change in an hour. So last year we were laying asphalt in November 15th. 3 years ago, we were laying it in December 1st. So you get a feel for how the asphalt plants work. We knew that it was going to be a little bit cold for the concrete. We poured high early. So it would have been ready in 24 hours. Obviously, they patched as much as they could, but we had to wait, and now, we decided that the patch that's there is better than what we had there before. And if you want to go drive on it, you're more than welcome. I drove on it today, and it's a significant improvement.
I did too, and it is an improvement. I think it was frustrating for everybody, staff included, that the temperature dropped as quick as it did.
Well, we got a warm-up coming for the end of the week, so that's the time to get your leaves to the curb, and we'll probably get them picked up by the weekend. So we should be in the 40s by Friday, so.
One of the things that'll happen is we'll get a melt, and we may take some rain over that time period. The frost is going to drive this year, so that's one of the things that we're going to pay attention to. So people who are interested in that, pay attention to the website. We'll keep that data up there.
What did you say, the frost is going to what?
Drive. It's
What
going
does
to,
that mean?
it's going to go down into the ground. So
Deeper than last year?
I don't think deeper than last year,
Let's hope
but
not.
last year was record-setting for us.
That's what I
And
was hoping, yeah.
But
Why is
You
it
don't
going?
even have to go as far as last year in order to be able to get some of the services around here, because not all of them are buried at what would be considered normal depth. And some of them are in locations, if you're under a driveway or you got a long run under a piece of asphalt or those types of things, those places, the frost really goes down.
Can I just ask, when you said that, were you assuming we knew something? Like,
We've been taking a couple phone calls from people wanting to know when they should start trickling.
oh, their water?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like, I don't know that you will need to trickle this year, but if you pay attention to the website, we'll let you know as soon as we think that there's a reason to trickle your water.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we measure the frost at Sullivan, and right now, there's no frost in the ground at Sullivan, less than an inch at most places. So besides the website, you can also go to the National Weather Service website, and we track that daily.
It needs to be 6 feet down in order to
Right.
start affecting your utilities generally. There, like I said, there's some services that are in the city. I know up on Fremont by the Catholic Church there, some of them are 3 feet. Couple on campus are 3 feet, so those we have to pay more attention to.
Okay. Anything else?
So what is the status? I haven't been over at the crosswalk on Madison.
It's poured, the asphalt's down, they have it striped. This week coming up, they're going to set the concrete forms for the bases. And sometime in the next week and a half, they should be up.
After Thanksgiving?
No, before.
Before,
Oh,
yeah.
before, okay. All right.
Very good.
And what company is doing that?
We're doing it.
Oh,
We purchased the equipment, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was the equipment that was recommended. It was the easiest to install and the best price.
okay.
And it just for common knowledge, that was a project that was originally presented by the middle school students, was it Life Tech class? And it was presented to the council, went through the council and approved, and we're within a couple of weeks of completion of that project. So kudos to everyone on that. Anything else for Steve?
There's one thing that Vicki wants to present that was asked earlier.
About the referendum requirement. It's in our municipal code, section 1-5B-6. It was an ordinance that was put into place by the council in 2000, and it was probably to some degree in response to the building of this building. The requirement is that if the city is going to build a building or put on an addition on a building that's going to cost $500,000, or if they're going to borrow $500,000 for the purpose of building a new building or putting an addition on a new building, that it goes to referendum for a advisory referendum. However, what was added to the ordinance by the council at that time, I'll read that 3-line paragraph to you under paragraph E. Notwithstanding the foregoing, if the building construction project provides essential public utility or public health services, or if made necessary by a fire, flood, or other calamity, or made necessary by state or federal mandate, the provisions of this section are inapplicable. So essentially, because we're building an electric utility building, this requirement where it automatically goes for an advisory referendum doesn't apply.
Thank you, Vicki.
You might as well explain about the improvements to the Public Works building being proposed for next year, too.
The Public Works building will have a portion of an addition put onto it, but it's my understanding that in breaking down what that cost is, it won't reach the $500,000 threshold, so it probably won't go to referendum.
Yeah, the estimated portion of the new building is somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000.
And that's in the capital budget, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, questions? Comments?
No, I think that answers the questions that my constituents were asking.
Okay, item 7, acceptance of committee minutes. We have before us the joint Rock Lake Committee minutes of October 7th, 2014, and the Aldi Fargo Library Board meeting of October 20th, 2014. Those go on file as read. Brings us to item 8, board and committee appointments. I thought we had one. Didn't we have one? Or had they?
That's an actual agenda item.
I'm sorry?
That's an agenda item
Yeah.
after the
Oh,
presentation.
okay, I'm sorry. So we have no board committee appointments
No,
and no miscellaneous licenses.
no.
And we have a presentation by the Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium. Genevieve, floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Genevieve Borch. I am the new dentist in the Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium. I started last March, and I wanted to take a few minutes this evening and introduce myself and to also share with you a little bit about what we're doing, both around the county, but also to help out Lake Mills and the businesses here. So what you see in front of you actually is a handout that I provided each of you at your desk this evening. You can't quite see what it is there. Maybe the handout in front of you will have a little bit more clarity. I apologize for the fonts being a little bit off. But to start, something that we're striving to do is to collect a little bit more data on our local economies within the county. Part of my history is doing a lot of research within communities, but also using that data for decision making. And so here's just a little bit of a snapshot of data that is out there and available for your community in particular. But part of what we're wanting to do is starting to track this data on an ongoing basis. And if you all would like, I could come back on a couple occasions over the course of the year to share with you new data that's being released by different agencies that's available at the local level that can help you with policy making, looking at your plans, and to the future. Flipping to the next page, there's 5 key areas that I wanted to cover with you briefly this evening. The first of which we're going to cover is actually at the end of the list, quality of life. So as many of you know, we have some tremendous assets to market within Jefferson County, and Lake Mills in particular really encompasses some of these wonderful assets that we have to tell the story of the economy and why it's a great place to live and work within the area. But more importantly, I think we're trying to work on refining our story to potential business owners and existing business owners about why we're a great place to do business. And so some interesting information that I wanted to share with you this evening is within 300 miles, we actually have 12.5 of the nation's population, which is not only a tremendous customer base for our employers, from our businesses, but also potentially to attract tourists to our area to come see our wonderful place to live and work. We have, of course, a diversified economy that we're working on growing, but I think in particular what is really of interest to Lake Mills is our location between the Milwaukee and Madison corridor. And so over the course of the next year, one of the things I wanted to share with you is we're going to be working on developing a key set of marketing materials that we can show that how we're within that pipeline of one of the biggest economies within the nation. So turning the page again, you'll see a page that says Marketing Assets for Locating in Jefferson County. A couple of new resources I wanted to share with you is 2-3 weeks ago we released the new JCEDC website, which is pretty easy to find. If you go to jcedc.net, jcedc.net, there's a lot of pretty interesting materials and different incentives for business owners, for local homeowners in terms of community development programs that we work on. There's actually, under the Living Here section, a community snapshot for Lake Mills. So we're going to be tracking a lot of the data that I mentioned earlier on that page, everything from business vacancies as reported from the U.S. Postal Service on a quarterly basis within your community to some interesting trends from the census, some of your top employers, an interesting snapshot on your local economy in terms of industry clusters you have, occupations, things like that. Another program I wanted to share with you about, you actually have a second handout from me that's a one page. It has a picture of a home on it that looks much like this right here, similar. This outlines the different homebuyer counseling programs and grants available to residents within the county and for Lake Mills for home buying assistance, for rehabbing your property, for down payment assistance. It really has been a successful program over the years. And one thing I wanted to share with you is our area, 2 weeks ago or so, had recently a HUD consolidated plan update. It's one of those standard plans the federal government asks us to approve, but this kind of outlines how our area is visioning growing our homes as a resource for the federal government and the programs that we receive funding from HUD from. So there's a little bit about the guidelines on who qualifies for these programs, but I would ask of you, if you hear of anyone that could use a little bit of this assistance, to reach out to Roxanne within our office, and her contact information is on the second sheet that I provided you. Next, I wanted to talk a little bit about financial assistance, and I'm actually going to have you turn to the next page that has a toolbox on it. Looks like that. For businesses within Jefferson County, whether they're existing, they're a new business, or they're even a small business within the county, there's several resources out there to help them either start from scratch or to grow over the years. We have revolving loan funds within the county that provide everything from small business loans to helping purchase equipment, tax increment financing options. We've been working with each of the communities to learn where the different TIF districts are and how we can potentially communicate to the state how we could use some extra help with those. Of course, there's state business tax credits, newly reinstated historic tax credits, which are available for the rehabilitation of properties, and low-interest loans from the state as well. We're trying to pull together all these different resources and provide a little bit more easy to find information on the JCEDC website. So that's another thing that you can find on the new website. And then finally, a lot of our small businesses within the area don't know about the assistance available from the Small Business Administration through the SBDC loans and the resources available down at the University of Whitewater with their SBDC office. So we're trying to pull some of the pieces together and make it a little easier for folks that are working with their businesses to find information they need. Turning the page again, if you look at the picture here, there's a couple things I just want to mention. When folks are looking for properties within Lake Mills, one of the things that we're working on is there's a lot of different places those properties, industrial and commercial, are posted. They're posted within Madison, MLS, Milwaukee, and then sometimes the third platform called Wyrix. And so what we're looking to do is to receive permission from the brokerage firms to compile those properties in a weekly data dump so that we can promote those locally to folks. And when we get a request for information from a company or a site selector, the people that work on behalf of companies, we can provide them more quick, accurate information on what is available for land and buildings for commercial and industrial. So if you have any connections with the brokerage firms, please pass those along. We're trying to make that happen in this next couple of months. Another thing I wanted to mention is the County Administrator, Ben Waymeyer, is also fairly new to the area, and he and I went with Steve and a couple of other folks we had at the meeting to learn about Lake Mills, and they took us on a very nice tour of the community. And so we're trying to learn about what is available and compile some key property marketing pieces that you can use locally to promote what is available within the community. Finally, one of the other projects I wanted to mention is we've been working with a company to set up an educational session. They are working to help companies have an in-house or a near location healthcare clinic, primary healthcare clinic. And so I can be happy to provide you the information, but we've been working with the Chamber of Commerce here to provide an educational session on how, when employees have better access to primary health care near their work locations, a lot of times their work output increases. So we'll be having that session helping coordinate hopefully in December. There's some additional information there. We're really working hard on assimilating and collecting more geographic information system data A lot of this information, it helps us be really strategic on the type of economic development work we do. So for instance, when we're going after infrastructure improvement loans from the state or the federal government, for instance, the DOT, we want to be able to show them the economic impact that that's going to have and how it's going to help our companies locally. So something I hope to be sharing with you about in the next couple of years is how we're pulling all that information together and hoping to use it a little bit more for economic development purposes. Turning the page again, I have a little bit of information there. I've covered some of it this evening, but a couple of key pieces of data that are out there that I think might be of interest, and please spread the word on them if you hear of anyone that might be able to use them, is that we have access to retail market potential data. So instead of being reactive, where we're hearing about a company wanting to come to town to open a store or a certain type of restaurant, we can start using this type of data. It's very affordable from the company. It's kind of the industry standard in economic development, and start being a little bit more strategic, working with realtors to grow some of the properties that we have for commercial and retail within the community. So we're working over the next year to be a little bit more proactive and working both with small businesses and attracting large businesses as well. The next snapshot is, if you look at the navigation menu, which doesn't show up the best in black and white, I apologize, but this is a key part of our new website that has resources for businesses within our area. And so sometime you have a few extra 5 minutes, we encourage you to go to the site and check it out. And if there's any additional resources that you would like us to see list on our website, please reach out and we would be happy to include them. And then finally, there's two other areas I wanted to share with you. One is workforce. The numbers in front of you kind of tell a really interesting story. We are a really, really unique county in that we have a tremendous amount of commuting going on. Lake Mills in particular, I think on the first page, don't flip back, 27.7 minutes is the average commute time for Lake Mills residents. And so a lot of folks, you know, you might have one person in the household working within the community and someone working else, or you might have a lot of folks that live outside the community working within Lake Mills. And so in particular, we're really working on understanding how we can, this is called the labor shed, where folks live and work within, and we're looking at how we can find out a little bit more deeper in the data on how we can help companies utilize the larger labor shed, attract more companies to understand we have a larger workforce that's available to them, to bring new companies to town, help them expand, understanding how we can tell that story to them. So we're going to be working on that as well. The last thing I wanted to share with you, if you turn to this page for now, we're working on a lot of different types of new programs as well. Everything from succession programming to understanding where our existing businesses are at. One of the things you hear in my profession a lot is when you have an existing business, it's a lot easier to help them grow to start than to attract a new company and start jobs from scratch. So one of the programs that we're going to be working on instituting this year is a business retention interview program. And it's essentially going to starting out as a conversation to find out where companies are at, what challenges are they running into in the next couple of years, if they're looking to expand, how can we help them as a partner in a community, help them expand. And working with Steve on setting up the, what was it, that's Hammerhead. Is going to be one of the first interviews I think we're going to be hoping to set up. But you know, there's a lot of things in flux with the economy, and the Littelfuse announcement recently, of course, was not easy to hear, but we're also working with the state workforce folks to help the rapid, is that rapid response? Is that what I called it? Yeah, rapid response program, help the employees of the company make sure that they find jobs in the area, and we're successful at that. So I will be making sure to keep you updated through Steve, and he'll be able to share with you information on that as we go. The last few slides of the PowerPoint just have a little bit of additional information for you that you can look through. One thing that I think I'll leave you with is this slide on how local leaders can help. It's a team effort to help with the economy, and it's not just about sometimes municipal boundaries, and sometimes it's just about helping one business in particular. But the more that you can do to share with folks the programs that we're working on and the successes that we do have, the better. And we encourage you to sign up for a quarterly newsletter if you haven't already. It's super easy to do. If you go to our homepage on our website, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a sign-up spot for you on the jcedc.net website. And we'll be sharing business announcements, programs that we're working on, grants that we received. We recently received a $200,000 EPA grant to do assessment on brownfield sites. So you'll be hearing more about that program from us. We're going to be doing a countywide inventory of all the different sites and how we can strategically be assessing and remediating those as well. So it's kind of stuff you'll hear from our newsletter. But I really appreciate you taking the time to let me kind of introduce myself and what we're working on, and I hope to be back here soon.
Thank you. Wendy.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
On the chart at the beginning, on the first page that you were alluding to, when it gives the unemployment civilian list there, 6.3, is that unemployed people who are in the job market? Or does it include retirees and everybody else?
Yeah, this information, I apologize I didn't put the source, comes from 5-year estimates from the American Community Survey. And so it's a little bit different than how you hear from the State Workforce Development Program and their unemployment statistics. Those are the folks that if you're filed for unemployment and you're in the program, they report those numbers. But this comes from the American Community Survey.
So that's what this is?
Precisely.
Okay.
The
Thank you.
new information actually comes out in a couple of weeks for 2013 for communities. And so I'll be updating the information on the Lake Mills portion of the website as soon as I have time later in the month. So I'll send out an announcement to Steve to share with you all that the new data has been published.
Yeah, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D is the discussion and decision on the Humane Society contract for upcoming year. This is motion 14-11-2-1. Mitzi, would you read this, please? Steve?
Motion 141121, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Lake Mills and Humane Society of Jefferson County. Whereas Section 66.0301 Wisconsin statutes authorizes cities and towns to enter into contracts for the receipt or furnishing of services. And whereas the City of Lake Mills has responsibility for animal control within the corporate limits. Be it moved by the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin as follows. Section 1, that the agreement between the City of Lake Mills and the Humane Society of Jefferson County for the year 2015, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part hereof, is hereby approved. Section 2, that the city manager is authorized to execute said agreement and to take such actions as necessary to implement said agreement. The City Council does hereby approve the agreement.
Do we hear a motion of approval for motion 14-11-2-1?
Yep, so moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
I have a question on, Steve, the first page of the contract in the bold print. Animals other than dogs and cats, and we probably don't really have anything other than dogs and cats. I mean, we don't allow the horses and pot-bellied pigs, et cetera, within our city limits, but animals other than those would be held, and then we would have it would be billed to the municipality at that point, the cost of caring. And if that's an indefinite cost, then we'd have an ongoing charge there. Now, that's other than cats and dogs. I'd be really concerned if it was cats and dogs, but.
Yeah, no, cats and dogs are pretty standard. They do a pretty decent job with some of the other animals. It tends to get to be the exotics.
Yeah, snakes.
Like chickens.
Snakes, rabbits.
Hawks.
Chickens nationwide have gotten to be a pretty big issue. In Jefferson County, they have not yet.
We still have a wild rooster, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on the way it's been going, I don't know that that'll be much longer.
Well, that's just a concern. They pick up the wild rooster and keep him, and then they start billing us indefinitely until death do we part, and old age, not euthanized, and we're paying for something like that on above the contract price. So I just wanted to point that out.
Well, I don't really want to bring this up, but do we have the contract calls for, or states that they abide by city policy or ordinances as far as length of time that animals are kept, and then either given out for adoption or euthanized, and I don't think we have any policy on that, do we? And,
I don't believe we do.
okay,
And the section that Mr. Grundon was referring to that's in bold print, it's for the required holding period. You know, if they keep them for the required holding period, it's, and it's not reimbursed or redeemed by the owner, then the city would be charged for that. If there is no required holding period, I would tend to dispute why we would get a bill on something other than a dog or a cat.
And that bill would only, let's say it's an exotic snake that is captured, that would be just, we would only be billed for the required holding period, at which point our billing would stop?
That's what on the face of the contracts, that's what it looks like.
and what is the required holding period?
I don't believe we have one.
So,
Is this maybe a generic contract that they're sending out to everybody?
Yeah, but I think that what Mr. Grundon referred to, I think that that's new language, the stuff that's in bold print.
But it'd be the new language for Jefferson and
Right.
Johnson Creek and
Right.
Fort and stuff.
And there might be a municipality within the
Right.
county that has a required holding period.
Right. So, I mean, and if they've got something exotic, I would think they want to get rid of it as soon as they can by sending it someplace like a zoo or something, if it's, you know, they don't want to handle it, I'm sure.
Probably not.
I mean,
So
wouldn't want to if
they
I were-
probably have that language in there for the event where there's a municipality that says you shall hold all animals regardless of what species for 10 days
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. And then,
so since we don't have a required holding period, we don't, it's really
it
immediate.
shouldn't apply to us.
Okay, well, that answers that question.
Can't
Good
guarantee
answer
it,
anyway.
but that's what it appears.
Well, they would have a hard time making that stand if we don't have it. I mean, what, you know, whether they try to or not is up to them, but making that stand would be,
Well, doesn't it, I think the Humane Society has their own, like, rabbits are a big, you know, people get rabbits and then they take them over there, and I think they hold them, their rules are like 2 weeks. They start filling up, they have 20 rabbits, they start euthanizing them because they don't want 20. So I think they have their own set.
Okay. Anything
It's
else?
never been an
Yeah.
issue with Lake Mills before because we don't have a date, so if,
Right.
but there, I think, you know, the debate has always been on cats and dogs. They hold them forever. And so some of their costs tend to run high. Whereas some of the other animals, they try and move them out as quick as possible because obviously they're more difficult to get in places and handle and that type of stuff. So if, you know, if there's some kind of code that says you have to hold them for 60 days and their normal is 2 weeks, then they're going to start billing you.
Well, I think it was Ed and our position that any dogs or cats, we put them up in a hotel because it would have been cheaper. But anyhow, any other comments or questions?
I do. I've got one here. One thing that it just seemed interesting to me is they're charging by the population rate, and I'm sure that's probably the way they always do it, and everybody's done it this way from the beginning of time, just because it's a way of getting the funds in easily. But do they ever provide us a list of how many animals they actually take care of for Lake Mills?
Yeah,
Is
the
that-
previous, they did that 2 years previous.
That's because we were fighting the contract and we asked for it.
Yeah, because that just makes sense to me, because obviously the amount of money they're asking for isn't astronomical by any means, but, you know, if they pick up 10 dogs a year,
oh, it's a lot more than that.
well, no, I'm
Not
just
the
saying,
dogs,
for
it's the
instance.
I remember,
cats.
wasn't
Yeah.
the dogs and cats, it was something like $125 an animal?
I can't
When we
remember.
figured
I
out
remember
the
there wasn't
number.
very many dogs that
Yeah.
got picked up. The majority was cats, and majority of that were kittens.
It was like 40 or 50 dogs, and then all the rest of it was cats and kittens, yeah.
But
And it was in the 100 and
Something for
Something.
animal.
100-something per
Yeah,
animal.
and then even at the price, it's a lot cheaper than for the city to
Yeah, that's,
have their own service, so it's, I guess it's a bargain at any price at this point.
At
Well,
this price,
almost any price.
There are also some public relation issues. I mean, the Humane Society is well respected. They do take very good care of their animals. They have a lot of organizations associated with them. They're part of the agency that's monitored for, how their funds are handled and those types of things. Because as I remember, there was a local government that went to a different option, and they took a lot of bad press because of the way the euthanasia was done and that type of stuff.
I still have an issue with them being able to raise the increase of 2.5 without any city input from the various cities they serve, but it's the way it is.
I think they built a new building or added on this year.
Yeah.
And I think
It's going
that's
up right now.
probably what they're trying to offset some of the costs, so I guess it's just the cost of doing business.
Well, and there is a lot of support for animals
Yeah.
from the public, so I don't think we want to open that one.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, let's see, Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, item E, confirmation and appointment of Deputy Clerk Heather Pippin. Do I hear a motion of confirmation?
We're going to read it?
I don't think we have one to read, do we?
Yeah, I have one right in my hand.
Oh, come on. Okay, would you, Misty, would you read motion 1411-3, or -2-2?
Motion 1411-22, confirmation of city manager appointment of deputy clerk. Whereas Wisconsin statutes and the Lake Mills Charter Ordinance provide for the appointment of certain positions by the city manager. And whereas there is a need to appoint the position of deputy clerk. And whereas the city manager has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to appoint Heather Pippin as deputy clerk, be it therefore moved by City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin as follows. Section 1, that the City Council confirms the appointment of Heather Pippin as deputy clerk. The City Council does hereby confirm the city manager appointment and does hereby authorize the council president to sign the motion.
Now, do I have a motion of confirmation?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? And the vote, please.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Congratulations, Heather.
There you go.
But she only gets to move one seat over in the office.
And she's been taking advantage of it.
Okay. Item F, Resolution 14-61. Misty, would you do the honors, please?
Resolution 14-61 concerning the acquisition of property rights from PMY LLC and approving the offering price and submittal report. Whereas the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin has determined it necessary to construct Elm Street between Pine Street and Tyrnina Park Road. And whereas said construction will necessitate the acquisition of 1,263 square feet of temporary limited easement from PMY LLC for construction purposes over and upon a portion of the following described premise to wit: a temporary limited easement for the right to construct, cut, and/or fill slopes, including for such purpose the right to operate the necessary equipment thereon, and the right of ingress and egress as long as required for such public purpose, including the right to preserve, protect, remove, or plant thereon any vegetation that the highway authorities may deem necessary or desirable.
Can we skip the legal jargon?
Yeah, we're going to skip the legal description of the property and go right to the whereas.
Whereas the temporary limited easement is for the right to construct, cut, and/or fill slopes, including for such purpose the right to operate the necessary equipment thereon, and the right of ingress and egress as long as required for such public purpose, including the right to preserve, protect, remove, or plant thereon any vegetation that the highway authorities may deem necessary or desirable. And whereas the city has caused an appraisal of the subject property to be prepared by its consulting appraiser, and whereas the city has determined that it is in the best interest of the city to offer the purchase the temporary limited easement from the owners of such property, and to take such other actions as are deemed necessary to acquire the temporary easement for the purposes of constructing the improvements. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Mills does hereby declare and determine that the temporary limited easement to construct the Elm Street extension is necessary. Be it further resolved that the city manager is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the city the offering price and submittal report for temporary limited easement from PMY LLC with total damages of $450.
Do I have a motion of acceptance of Resolution 14-61?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Discussion? That was a lot of paperwork for
Standard.
temporary easement. So is this the last one for the Elm Street project?
No, it is not.
Oh, it is not the last one, so
No.
we have more coming.
Yep.
Okay.
So how-
We've even been in discussions on modifying some of the existing ones that we've approved and not using them because there's some development occurring already that we think is in the best interest of the city. So we're thinking about relocating. Most of this area in here was being worked on as part of a stormwater detention basin. The storm sewer that runs down North Main Street is already at capacity, so, and this street would be running into that. Having a stormwater detention basin to trickle it in is going to be necessary. And there's a development proposed for this site already, so now we're looking at modifying it a little bit. So this area here may be modified a little bit for both Becker's and PMY. And then we have the last one that'll be coming through is Simden. We haven't done anything on Simden yet. He'd be the only one left.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll tackle this one first, so no other questions or comments? Misty, would you call a roll, please?
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Passed 5-0.
Item G is ordinance 1141. This is the floodplain ordinance, and this is the third reading. Misty, would you read the ordinance, please?
Am I reading?
Read the title to the original one.
Ordinance 1141, floodplain ordinance and map.
Are we doing A or the original one?
The A that's in your packet is a suggested amendment to it. Remember
Oh, yeah.
you weren't here. At the last meeting, I suggested to the council that we do a slight amendment to Section 2, but I was asked to put it in writing. So the A version that's in your packet isn't here for a reading unless and until somebody wants to make an amendment to that effect.
Okay, well, I wasn't here at the last meeting. Does somebody want to make a motion for the amendment?
I'll make a motion to amend ordinance 1141 to be replaced by ordinance 1141A.
And a second, please.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just briefly, the amendment, all it does is take away the very awkward language where we were trying to hedge our bets with both Titles 10, but now we have a Title 10, a new one,
So it's done.
so I cleaned it up.
Okay. Yep. Misty, would you call the vote, please?
Mr. Foster,
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch,
Aye.
Mr. Grundon,
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich,
Aye.
Mr. Shar.
Aye.
Now we're on the original one, right?
Yep. So now,
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1141A.
in a second, please.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Oh, it's done.
I know there has been some public interest in getting this approved, so.
Just a summary, the very long ordinance is the model ordinance from DNR. The only changes that I made were extremely minor. We had to say what map panels were being incorporated, and so that takes place. And also, we had to say what the name of our planning agency was and what county we were in. Other than that, it's all boilerplate language from DNR. The reason to do the model ordinance is we have until February, beginning of February, for FEMA and DNR to both sign off on it. If it's not adopted in time, then the flood insurance won't be available in Lake Mills. So I decided on my own that it probably would stand to reason do the model ordinance rather than try to tailor everything specifically to Lake Mills. I'm sure that that's the preference of FEMA and DNR, and that's why they have it set up that way.
Sure.
I've got the preliminary approval from DNR, but if you adopt it tonight, then I'll be sending it on to DNR, who will then forward it on to FEMA, and I don't anticipate any kind of a problem. All of the input that the city would have had on the floodplain maps themselves, we already had, was it last year, when we were able to comment and have them make some changes to the maps, but other than that, they pretty much expect you to adopt it, or we won't have the flood insurance.
Very good. Okay, no other questions or comments? Misty, please?
Mrs. Fritsch,
Aye.
Mr. Grundon,
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich,
Aye.
Mr. Shar,
Aye.
Mr. Foster,
Aye.
Item H, this is the public hearing for the 2015 general budget. Any comment, or the public is invited to comment on the budget? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Item I, ordinance 1142, the 2015 general budget. This is the third reading. Misty? I guess we should read the entire,
Or should we
We've done the totals, Rudy, in the past, where you had the.
yeah, I'll
total.
just do the totals, not all the numbers, just do the totals.
so read
They're
it.
available
Yeah.
on the website if someone's interested.
Now, I have the 2000, am I looking at everything right here? Okay. We've got the general fund, and then later we have the capital fund.
Yeah,
I have
it's
them
two
in the right way.
different ones.
But the ordinance number that I have in my hand is 1142A. So are we doing the same thing on this as we did with the floodplain?
No, this one is the whole ordinance, so you can just approve 1142A, because we never did anything with the other ordinance.
Okay, so even though the
Yeah.
It's
agenda
not,
says...
it's not the exact same ordinance,
Agenda
but
doesn't have
it's,
So that's what she's going to read is 1142A.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's what I was asking.
Ordinance 1142A, 2015 General Government Budget and Tax Levy Ordinance. An ordinance appropriating the necessary funds for the operations of the general government and debt service funds of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin for the year 2015. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, does ordain as follows. Section 1, there is hereby appropriated out of the receipts of the City of Lake Mills for the year 2015, including monies received from the general property tax levy to the various purposes specified in the budget presented herewith for the purposes therein stated, the following amounts. 2015 proposed total revenues, $4,719,200. Total expenditures, $4,719,200. Total expenses, $1,079,800. Total revenues, $1,079,800, for a grand total of $3,398,800. Section 2, there is hereby levied a tax of $2,291,000 for all purposes and $1,075,300 for debt service on all taxable property within the City of Lake Mills as returned by the assessor in the year 2014 for the uses and purposes set forth in said budget. Section 3, the city treasurer is hereby authorized and directed to spread this tax on the current tax roll of the City of Lake Mills. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect and be in force from and after its passage and publication.
Do we have a motion of adoption of ordinance 1142A?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And Steve, could you just give us a quick synopsis?
Quick one, huh?
Yep, very, very quick one.
The amount levied actually is going down, so the amount of personal property tax, or the amount of property tax that will be paid by the local residents to the city will go down from last year, $26 and some cents. So it actually has a reduction there. I did want to note that the MATC took a substantial drop based on the bill that we had been discussing earlier, which was one of the key
142.
issues we were going to talk about with Senator Fitzgerald. Anyway, so that's the key item in the budget this year is that the property taxes actually went down this year. We did take a 1.7% growth in net new construction. We'll probably see more next year. So that's been good for us. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and see what happens. But as a whole, the city general fund budget did very well.
I have a comment. So I would like to comment that in the 2015 budget, there is an expenditure for the EMS, and it's in the amount of $25,300. So that is a change from this past year.
Any other comments? Misty?
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
I just want to comment on and congratulate the city staff for doing another outstanding job on the budget this year. Everything was very straightforward and well thought out. So kudos to the staff. The public hearing now for the capital budget for 2015. Seeing no comments, we'll close the public hearing. Brings us to item K, ordinance 1143A. The capital budget, this is the third reading. Misty, the same, if you would.
Ordinance 1143A, 2015 capital budget, an ordinance appropriating the necessary funds for the operation of the capital budget of the City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin for the year 2015. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, does ordain as follows. Section 1, there is hereby appropriated out of the receipts of the City of Lake Mills for the year 2015, including monies received from the general property tax levy to the various purposes specified in the capital budget presented herewith for the purposes therein stated, the following amounts. 2015 capital budget, total revenues, 2015 proposed, $3,839,100. Total expenditures, $3,839,100. Section 2, there is hereby levied a tax of $188,200 for capital purposes on all taxable property within the city of Lake Mills as returned by the assessor in the year 2014 for the uses and purposes set forth in said budget. Section 3, the city treasurer is hereby authorized and directed to spread this tax on the current tax roll of the city of Lake Mills. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect and be in force from and after its passage and publication.
And do I hear entertain a motion of adoptance of ordinance 1143A?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Discussion. Steve, again, a quick synopsis.
This covers pretty much all the capital improvements that we're making in the city in 2015. It does not include capital improvements in the TIDs. That will be a separate, and they were listed under that in that portion of the budget. So that was listed in a different section in the budget. But this does provide for all the issues that we wanted to take care of in the next fiscal year, including work in the park. And you might ask Rob how he's proceeding with that tomorrow night.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Misty, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Kirkovich?
Aye.
Mr. Shar?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Grundon?
Aye.
And just a quick comment on the capital budget this year. It does have some needed capital for some very badly needed resources for the Parks and Forestry Division, so they can finally eat their lunch without getting rained on in a leaky building, and so it's a good thing to get the infrastructure fixed up for the city. So kudos to the staff on that.
It also fixed Madison Street, so that all those semi-trucks don't beat Ed's house to pieces.
Yeah. Good.
I might note, we ended up with some dollars left over from this year's capital budget for street improvements that we're going to be asking you in December to move over to the next fiscal year so that we can actually do more paving projects next year.
Very good.
Because we ran out of warm weather here, we ended up eating a few.
Okay, item 9, recommendations for future agendas. I'm going to turn this one over to Diane. You had something?
Well, I'm not sure what you're alluding to.
I thought you had something that you wanted.
Well, Vicki was about we're going to have the closed session after.
Yes, after your December 2nd regular meeting, there will be an item for closed session. It's that 3 times a year performance evaluation where you get to meet with the city manager and talk about how things are going.
Sure.
And, I don't know, do you
I
have
thought
any
you
more
had something.
today?
Yeah.
She just said it was something that could go on a future agenda, not
Yeah,
now.
future agenda. You had.
I better look at my notes.
Right in the very beginning, but I don't think you meant right away. It sounded more like later on.
I think we have about 4 or 5 things that'll be on the agenda anyways. We'll have plenty for the,
Okay.
Yeah.
we also have December 16th, we have set up to adjust all the fees, like the cemetery and anything in the parks and our garbage refuse and those types of things. And so
Well, and one of the things is that, and like tomorrow night, they have the thing for the pavers, but we do have, we had said that we were going to wait till after the winter and see how those poetry
Oh, sure.
chunks
Yeah.
hold up.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to do any finalization on that until spring.
Okay.
But I don't know how I said what I said. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
It had to do with some correspondence that if somebody wanted to put it on an agenda in the future,
Oh, yeah.
somebody
Mhm.
could.
And that, yeah, that's right. And the future will be in the future, not next meeting.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
that's what it was.
That's what that was, yeah.
the
Mhm.
plaque.
Dave, you have
Yeah.
anything?
Nope.
Mike?
Yeah. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you for telling me what I meant. It's always nice.
Okay,
We'll probably also see clean boats, clean water finalization in December sometime.
nothing else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Whoops. I
All in
think you beat
favor?
me.
Aye. You opposed? We are adjourned.